Srimad Bhagavatam is the sound incarnation of Lord Krishna. Krishna's Katamo Pagati, Dharmagyanadi Bisaha, Kalamnashta Shamesha, Puranarko Tanodita. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear about Krishna's leaving this world after finishing his pastimes, Adi Lila Katha, and going back to the spiritual world, having completed his mission to attract all souls to his transcendental pastimes and to establish order in this world by giving prominence to saintly persons, Satsudam, and to diminish the power of demoniac persons who are against the authority of the Lord. And it can be said that Krishna went to Goloka Dhamma, but in a sense he also went to the Dhamma of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Dhamma means the place where the Lord resides. And it's understood that the Lord is residing within the Srimad Bhagavatam, or better yet, that the Lord is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the true glory of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna tulya bhagavata vibhu sarvashraya, prati shloki prati akshare and artakaya. The Srimad Bhagavatam is as good as Krishna himself, and therefore is unlimited and the shelter of all living entities. Every single verse and every single syllable is full of many, many deep meanings. So this is the real meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, that it's a way to associate with Krishna. Krishna can only be understood by pure devotional service. And in a similar way, the Srimad Bhagavatam can only be understood by the mercy of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not simply by reading and absorbing information from the pages that we really experience the glory of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But to fully experience the profundity of Srimad Bhagavatam touching our heart, it requires that we get the mercy of the Srimad Bhagavatam and that it speaks to us in a personal way. And this is a kind of experience that devotees can have by the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master, which leaves a lasting impression and gives one faith and encouragement to continue in spiritual life. To say more about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it said that this material universe is a creation of the interaction of the three different elements, earth, water, and fire. And it's all going on by the direction of the Lord, who is independent and all-conscious, the all-powerful supreme personality of Godhead. But that the Dhamma, Dhamma Svena Sada Nirastakukam Satyam Param Dhimahi. But the Lord is forever residing in his abode, which is freed from the dualities and the imperfections of this material world. That Dhamma is Goloka Dhamma, but it's also the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so, the Srimad Bhagavatam is not a material book, it is a spiritual literature. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes that Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Svarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency. And this potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world, which is within our experience. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction between the two in this shloka. Sri Vyasadeva says herein that the manifested internal potency is real, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like a mirage in the desert. So I'd like to share some verses that have spoken to me recently in the way which I've described. These are the words of Vishnu to Narada. Please repeat after me. Hantasmin Janmani Bhavan Mamam drashtramiharhati.
Mamam drashtramiharhati.
Avipakvakashayanam.
Avipakvakashayanam.
Yudarshoham kuyoginam.
Yudarshoham kuyoginam.
My son within this present life.
My son within this present life.
You may not see me as of yet.
You may not see me as of yet.
For amateurs with dirt still left.
Amateurs with dirt still left.
I'm hard to see, much more for cheats.
I'm hard to see, much more for cheats.
Sakritya darshitam rupam.
Sakritya darshitam rupam.
Etat kamayatenaka.
Etat kamayatenaka.
Matkama shanakai sadhu.
Matkama shanakai sadhu.
Sarvan manchati hrikshayan.
Sarvan manchati hrikshayan.
Just once I show my form to you.
Once I show my form to you.
To spark desire, sinless one.
To spark desire, sinless one.
The more you yearn for me, O saint.
The more you yearn for me, O saint.
You'll quit all else within your heart.
You'll quit all else within your heart.
Satsevaya dhirgaya yapi.
Satsevaya dhirgaya yapi.
Jata mai dridhamati.
Jata mai dridhamati.
Hitpavatyam imam lokam.
Hitpavatyam imam lokam.
Gandhamachana tamasi.
Gandhamachana tamasi.
By serving even not so long.
By serving even not so long.
Your firm resolve in me was born.
Your firm resolve in me was born.
So giving up this faulty world.
So giving up this faulty world.
You're destined for my entourage.
Destined for my entourage.
Matirmayini badheyam.
Matirmayini badheyam.
Navipadyeta karhichit.
Navipadyeta karhichit.
Prajasarge narodhepi.
Prajasarge narodhepi.
Smritischa madanugrahat.
Smritischa madanugrahat.
This firm resolve that's bound to me.
This firm resolve that's bound to me.
Is never thwarted any time.
Is never thwarted any time.
Although all beings are born and die.
Although all beings are born and die.
You will remember all my grace.
You will remember all my grace.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
So in a similar spirit, you can learn every shloka in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I know I've learned many shlokas in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But without getting the mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam, it remains external. My experience has been of being like having the jar of honey and licking the outside. It's like, when I came to Krishna consciousness, I just learned like 700 shlokas like that. It wasn't hard at all. And people will call me like, oh yeah, what's that shloka? What's that shloka? And like I'm reciting it, and then people are like, oh wow. And like my ego is like growing. And I didn't feel satisfied with that experience. I felt like I wasn't really entering into the spirit of the shloka. Like I was thinking about me rather than Krishna. And so, although apparently I had learned the thing, I hadn't learned the thing. So similarly, like with Sri Vyasadeva, he learned all the Vedas. He memorized everything, he wrote it all down, and he wasn't satisfied. So then his spiritual master told him, well, you haven't really tapped into the essence of what all the Vedas are meant for. You haven't glorified the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we know the story. Then Vyasadeva wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam. But was he finished there? The Bhagavatam that we have here is after 2 more generations of the Bhagavatam being passed down after Vyasadeva wrote it. So he wrote it down and then taught it to his son. His son taught it to Parikshit Maharaja. And then Sutta Goswami was there. He recited it to Shaunaka and all the sages there. And so there was a whole new layer added to the Bhagavatam that Vyasadeva wanted to include. So the Bhagavatam, it's unlimited, and it speaks through people, and it speaks to people. It's a personal literature about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's understood by serving persons who are the Bhagavatam. And this way we get a connection with it. We can't get a connection just by academic kind of reading style, trying to cram information and compare and contrast ideas and things like that. So these verses that I've sung really speak to me. Krishna is revealing himself to Narada. Narada is having that experience of Krishna personally coming into his life and touching his heart and saying, this is a message for you, my son. So Narada had gone through the whole process of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, rendering service to those people who live by the principles of the Bhagavatam, and by cleansing his heart, by establishing a relationship with Krishna within his heart. He'd gone through the whole process. And then he went out on his own and he was meditating. And within his meditation, the Lord spoke to him. And he said that you're not quite there yet. You still have some impurities in your heart. You still have some immaturity. But these 2 things are not a disqualification to get a revelation from the Srimad Bhagavatam, to get a realization of the holy name being non-different from Krishna. Because Krishna can bless anyone. And we have experienced as devotees of Krishna giving us a little glimpse, a little insight into how the holy name is Krishna and how the Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna. But it's really hard for cheats. I'm hard to see much more for cheats. So there's a way that we block ourselves off if we indulge in duplicity or, in my experience, shame. My experience is that, like, coming to Krishna consciousness, there were certain anarthas that just immediately went, like intoxication, just left it behind. It wasn't hard. But there are other anarthas that were like years and years of like struggle and like not knowing, like, how do I do this? Like, I'm stuck. I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. And this was my experience all the way leading up to when I left Krishna House before. It's like I was being sincere in my devotional service, and I wanted to overcome my anarthas, but I was just being hypocritical. I was just falling down. I was falling down as Bhakti Academy director with pornography and with masturbation. And I felt so depressed. I felt conflicted, and I didn't know what to do. I was just looking at for the mercy of Krishna, thinking there's nothing that I can do. I was very fortunate that I got to associate with a pure Vaishnava, and I'd like to share my experience, how these words came to me. So this Vaishnava is someone who's really so powerful in anartha-nivrtti, like relentless in the art of anartha-nivrtti, of going in the heart and to find all the contaminations there, and to honestly acknowledge it's there and bring it out, to let go of it, to let go. And so I was going through this process with him. And there was one point where we were sharing like things in the heart that are shameful, secretive, that like we don't want people to know. And I've been holding on to kind of duplicity as a way to like look good as far as possible, so I could like be the teacher or whatever, and you know, somehow like also live with this anartha, like that I didn't know what to do with. And so I was going in my heart, and my experience was that with shame, I was identifying with my anartha. I was like, this is me, and I can't let it get out, or like my life's going to like crumble apart. And that's pretty much what happened. But it was like Krishna's heart of mercy, like a thunderbolt in my life. But you know, at some point I let go of all my secrets, and I let go of all my shame, and I felt the presence of Krishna with me. And I felt like before I had been crying out for the mercy of Krishna, and then when he came, like looking the other way. And like I was just cheating myself. But letting go of all this secrecy, all this mode of ignorance crap in my heart, sorry for my language. Like I was able to perceive that, like, and feel like tangibly, like Krishna's in my heart. Like he's always been with me. He's always been supporting me through everything, despite all of my imperfections and all of my shortcomings. And I felt really moved. I felt like light. I felt transformed, like I was floating. And like the verses were coming to me, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridesha Arjuna Tishtati. Krishna's in my heart. Krishna is Sukridam Sarva Bhutanam, he's my friend. And all these verses were coming to me. And then I was thinking also like of these verses spoken by Vishnu to Narada. So I was just thinking about that, and then I kind of just walked around a little bit, and I was just feeling like transformed. And then I came to my friend Sarah's Srimad Bhagavatam, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to open this up and like see if Krishna has a message for me. And I opened it up. I read, then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. I stopped and I thought, I'm not sure what that means. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. And then I realized that this was the verse right after Vishnu speaking to Narada. And that the message that had been coming in my heart was the message that I got in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in that moment, I felt so like overwhelmed with emotion and touched. All I could do was fall on the ground before the Srimad Bhagavatam and glorify it. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsya Mekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkaramyam Avishkritam Tatsrin Vansa Patan Vacharana Paro Bhaktya Pamuchinara. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Swarupa of the Lord. It's the most dear to the Vaishnavas. It's the essence of all transcendental philosophy. It's that everything is here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's so powerful. It's so wonderful. It's so alive. It's personal. And this was my experience. And this really gave me a new meaning of scripture. It's not an exercise of learning things. It's an exercise of developing our relationship with Krishna. And so my takeaway from that and what I'm applying in my life now is that there's some anarthas that they just kind of go. And then there's some anarthas that are like hardwired. It's like that's how we've learned to live in this material world. And just the thought of like leaving that behind is terrifying. and it's like you struggle with it year after year. With those kinds of anarthas, there's always some sort of benefit that I'm getting out of it, that I'm attached to. There's some sort of payoff. And so if I look deeply, like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, what am I getting out of it? Why do I need to get that? What's another way that I can get that? Or what's a way that I can just let go? Because Krishna will purify everything in our heart, but if we're holding on to something, then he won't interfere with our petty stubbornness. So it's a matter of just letting go. And that happens with honesty. Chant Hare Krishna and be honest. It happens with accountability and intimate friendships between devotees. There should be at least one person in your life who knows all of your secrets, who knows everything about you, where you're at in your spiritual life, where you're struggling, what's your next step to progress, and like they're rooting for you, they're holding you accountable. Come on, let's do this. Let's make progress in spiritual life. Let's chant Hare Krishna. You know, like, I understand where you're at. Like, I have compassion for you. I have empathy for you. I have love for you. And that's why I want you to progress, because I know you're a spirit soul. You're not that body. And in the same way that not everything that feels good for me is good for my self-interest, I know that not everything that just feels good for you is good for your self-interest. We need discipline to be happy, and that's true for me, and that's true for you. And that's empathy. And that's empathetic compassion, like holding people to their higher standards. And that's the kind of friendship that I seek and that I want in my life. Like people who are I can dialogue with them, you know, Prabhu, this is what I'm struggling with, and I want to make progress with this. And like, I feel understood, and I feel like supported. Not like, oh yeah, you know, a lot of people have that problem, but don't worry about it. Or like, Prabhu, I don't know what to say about that. Or what. Like, no, let's be honest. And let's make progress in devotional service, because this process is real. This is the absolute truth that we have here. Krishna is non-different from his name. My Guru Maharaj says that one japa session can change your whole life. One reading of Srimad Bhagavatam can change your whole life. There's that much power. If we have that kind of enthusiasm, if we have that kind of faith, it's true. One holy name, one verse from Bhagavatam. It's so powerful. It's Krishna. It's unlimited. It can transform our entire life. So if we approach it in that way, with faith, with seriousness, with like enthusiasm to serve, we can have that full experience. We can have the experience that we came to the Krishna conscious movement for. I mean, like, why are we here? We're here for Krishna Prema. We're here to go back to Godhead. We're here to get the real thing. We're not here to show off. We're not here to be cheated. If we want to be cheated, if we want to make a show, then we'll get cheated and we won't get the real thing, and that'll be our reward. Well, what's the point? We can go on life after life with Guru Kuli body, like, look at me, you know, like, I'm a devotee, I have a devotee name, but I have all these anarthas too. And not become a pure devotee, not become like integral before the lotus feet of the spiritual master, not being able to like stand before Srila Prabhupada and feel like I am in integrity with your instructions. Like I am doing my best to follow you, and I don't have any vested interest that I'm holding on to in this material world. So this is my experience of Krishna consciousness in the last year. It's been really transformative and powerful by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful, and I feel like I want to share this message. I want to reach out to people and show like the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's no one more dear to Krishna than one who preaches his message. There's no one more dear to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu than one who preaches his message. This is like the golden final instruction of the Lord. He says, just leave everything behind, surrender to me, and you have nothing to worry about. Lord Chaitanya says, you take this message, and whoever you meet, you give them this message. You give them this message. This is what they need. This is the nectar. This is not something to apologize for. This is what people are really needing, and they don't even know it. And anyone who will do this, Lord Chaitanya says, in that very act of sharing, you will meet me. Because Krishna desires so much to bring every soul back to him. He's in separation for every jiva, and he's just waiting for that day when we'll turn back to him. So when that jiva, who Krishna has been thinking, how can I get that jiva? When we approach him or her and we say, my dear sir, you're such a learned man. Please forget everything you've learned and just accept the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then the Lord is so happy. He shows up there and you feel like ecstatic. You feel like connected. You feel powerful. And there's nothing like it. There's no happiness like it. You're just like lit up with joy from within your heart. It's not like sense gratification where you're just trying to satisfy this external covering, and you're just like constantly like dissatisfied and so many problems are coming. It's just the opposite. Like you're enlivened from the inside. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva jnanam mukta sangha sajayate. Happy from the inside, and that's real spiritual life. And it comes from a genuine connection with Krishna, which is available to us at any moment. Every moment is a new moment. And better one moment of full consciousness than a whole life of superficiality. So this is our chance. Today is the time. Forget about tomorrow, forget about the past. Let's do this now. Maybe until now, I've been caught up in so many things. But there's every opportunity for me to make a breakthrough today, to make some little progress or a lot of progress in Krishna consciousness. Every chance is there. There's no material impediment. There's nothing in this material world that can hold us back. Absolutely nothing, because we're spirit souls. We're not the mind, we're not the body. If we're identifying with these, then there's so many impediments. But when we distinguish our illusion from reality, when we come in touch with ourselves as spirit souls and our personal qualities, then everything dissolves, and it's me and Krishna and this gradual coming to him, which is really like, it's the biggest blessing. Even our anarthas are blessings in a way, because the struggle and the effort that we go through will make the reward so much more sweet. And we'll have a testimony. We're going to have a testimony that we can share other people. This is how sinful I was. And by the mercy of Krishna, I'm a new man by the mercy of Krishna. And you can also become like that. And this is the best preaching. I talk with devotees and I hear their testimony, and like, I was like this, Prabhu, and now like I'm like this. Wow, like it gives you faith. This is a real thing. And I could just go on forever, but I want to leave some time for discussion, for comments and questions. So I'll invite you now to offer any reflections, or like something that stood out for you, or a question or comment. I'm happy to serve you. Yes.
I appreciated the point about the testimony, because I always felt that, that yes, like, our philosophy is, supreme and, amazing in every way, but what really catches people is how by ourselves we're showing the effects of Krishna consciousness. By our own advancement, people see practically the reality of spiritual life, not just theory or philosophical phenomenon, but it's actually something real. And so it's like, I feel like, like the best preaching is ourselves becoming pure, because in that way, when you a pure devotee, just from being in a vicinity of a pure devotee, you're hardly affected. So it's just like, just by making an advancement, actually that's also preaching.
Yeah, thank you. I hear it like strikes a chord for you. It's true. Like our testimony is powerful preaching. Thank you.
I like what you were saying about the sense of urgency. Pardon? The sense of urgency, you know, that there's really no time to waste. In reality, we don't, you know, we're not guaranteed anything. I mean, we could be all dead in moments. That's all very factual. You know, statistically, maybe, you know, we won't be, but it's very real that we could be. So we have to, you know, choose our time very wisely. What we do, what we don't do with our time is very, it says a lot. That's what it means about association, what we choose to do with our time, you know. So it's very important. I like what you're saying, urgency. We gotta get out of here. We gotta do it today. Like,
You appreciate that message of urgency and like.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
I think the most lovely thing that you said was the fact that there's like strength in being vulnerable, you know, and showing what you have within yourself, being completely honest. You know, that's something that could be kind of tough if we feel bad about something, and if we feel ashamed of any aspects of ourselves, and we kind of just want to like block it off and not really show it to anybody. And that's a really deep thing that we don't feel safe or anything like that. We're afraid to be judged and discriminated against. And that's, you know, that's really nice, because when you show your vulnerability and you show, you know, okay, I have this aspect, you know, let me look at it. Let me not just like avoid it, but let me stare at it in the face. You know, it's like we all have like these monsters in the closet, but we gotta like look at these monsters. You know? And that's the only way they'll actually, you know, get cleared out. Or else it's like, you know, you're avoiding something that you know is there and you know it's hurting you, but you're just, you know, in denial of it, or you don't have like actually a genuine relationship with somebody to share it with. That's another thing, to be able to open up to somebody. Like I've seen devotees, you know, everybody had a situation where he wanted to talk to you, and he was able to open his heart up to you, and you guys had a genuine conversation about what he was feeling, and after that he felt better, and you know, it's like those types of relationships are what devotees need to make advancement.
Yeah, it sounds like you feel freed by this. You know, like free to be vulnerable.
There's like strength and weakness.
Strength and weakness, that's inspiring for you. Yeah, and I'll just share a quick example. I've been friends with Avi for like 6 years or so. And, you know, we always had Shastra in common, and we had like similar dancing and like lots of stuff like that, Mr. Lion. But it wasn't until I found myself in the hospital with all these realizations of like how I had been cheating myself, and how the Vaishnavas are better friends to me than I am to my own self. And I've been falling short of that. And I was just like lucid, and just like, I was like, man, we could die anytime, and like, I'm not willing to die like this. Like, I have to change my life. And I was just like sharing everything, and then like, he was also like being like vulnerable, sharing, and like, ever since then, we're like best friends. Like, and just the quality of your relationships and friendships is so much deeper and more meaningful when you can be fully honest and vulnerable. Guhyam Akhyati Prijati. Inquiring confidentially and sharing your heart.
I really liked your point about Gurukulis. I really resonated with that, about like, why are we here? And I feel like that's a question that a lot of people don't ask. And it's one of the most important questions we can ask. Like, why am I doing this? Like you were saying, am I here to put on a show? Am I here to just show people how good I am, or look good, or, you know,
or be right?
And that's such an important thing, because if we are in this for those motivations, that's what we're going to get. We're going to get people's adoration and respect. And it's just so interesting, because like, without asking that question and actually being honest, we won't get the real thing. Like you were saying, I just really appreciate that point. Like, the real thing is to become a pure devotee, and that's without, like, the core verse of being a devotee is Trinadapi Sunijana. Like, we're not expecting anything. We're not expecting respect. We're not expecting adoration. And we want to give respect without receiving it, which is the complete opposite of being adored.
Yeah.
It's just like complete opposite. Like, if we're in this for material motivations like that, we're going to get it, but that's not what a devotee is. And you see like all the pure devotees, like that's the last thing they want, is people to respect them and adore them.
Yeah.
And the last thing they want is to put on a show and be superficial.
Yeah.
It's like complete opposite, which is so interesting. And the last thing they want is to be prideful and like to have these anarthas. But if you cultivate them like that without being honest, that's what you're going to get. It's just so amazing. And I was just wondering, like, how can we really, like, besides being our own, like Kishore was saying, like being that example, like what else can we do to like inspire people to be honest? Like, besides being honest ourselves, is there anything else like you can think of to inspire people?
My experience has been that to begin, I really needed a relationship where I have trust in that person and safety, because it was just so delicate and difficult to begin. But once I began to live more and more in honesty, then it's like I can just say it in front of the whole class. So it begins with strength in someone else, and it becomes strength in yourself.
I really appreciate the class. There's one thing I wanted to ask about. On one hand, you want to be honest and and be yourself. But at the same time, you know that as a society, as a movement, there are certain social norms.
So I think I know where you're going with this. Honesty and responsibility. So, like raw honesty is like I'm just going to say anything that I think. But along with honesty, we need full responsibility for ourselves. And that includes getting guidance from the spiritual master. But we can get so much guidance from the spiritual master and then go and do something else or kind of twist it. So when we take 100% responsibility for our life, for our experience, that's really difficult, but it gives us full power to change in the way that we want. If it's 50% up to me and 50% up to someone else, then that means I can be 50% Krishna conscious until that other person is fully Krishna conscious. So like society, like if we're just coming out and like, I like this and look at all my stuff, that's not responsible sharing. There should be a clear intention to be Krishna conscious by this revealing the heart and inquiring confidentially. And inquiring confidentially is real art. Kind of questions you can ask your friends.
Just about being honest again, it's actually really inspiring when you see others being honest. Like that helps you become like that. And like, honestly, I can see, since you left, and now that you're back, I see that change, actually. Because you were here for a long time, and just hearing you just being honest and revealing your anartha, it makes me respect you more. It's really interesting, because that's what happens, like when we're honest and open, like with the devotees, like that brings that like appreciation, rather than just the superficial, like external. Like someone trying to make a show, and you can actually, people are sensitive, they can tell when someone's making a show. Like for me, just sit in kirtan, like when you're in kirtan for so long, like your whole life, it's so obvious
It's really
when
transparent.
someone is making a show.
Yeah.
And like I say to myself, like all the time. Like, and it's just so obvious, like when someone's being superficial. And for me, sometimes I get frustrated because I see that with myself. And I'm always telling the wonder, like, wasn't that a show? Like, don't you see? Like, for me, it's so clear. But it's just, I also wonder, like, am I perceiving that in other people because I have that? Like,
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Like, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't perceive it, right?
It wouldn't bother you.
It wouldn't bother me, okay.
Yeah.
So,
But thank you for sharing. I'm moved by your sincerity to be genuine and to get the real value from your Krishna consciousness.
Was there the difference between revealing like your mind to a friend? Because sometimes you reveal your mind to the friends and friends all the time, almost all the time will be agree with you. Like, I understand you, yeah, something like that. But
Yeah.
when you reveal your mind to a superior, usually they are more ready to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Okay. So, quick thing I forgot to respond with Hare Priya is, what's really surprised me is the more that I just, it's like ironic, like if you just bring all your anarthas out, people are like, wow, like that was really inspiring. So it's kind of funny, you're like, what do you mean? I was just talking about like all the dirt in my heart and you're like inspired. I've experienced that many times. It's interesting because we all have it. So then people feel more free to share themselves. But so when someone's revealing their mind, it's easy to go into giving advice or saying it's okay, it's okay. There's like a lot of responses that we've kind of learned. But Krishna says that the highest yogi is the one who has empathy. So when other people are sharing, if we first are connecting with them at the feelings that they're having, the experiences they're having, showing understanding by reflecting, like, I understand that you feel like this. And just giving them room to express themselves without trying to put them in a box. Asking open-ended questions so that they're free to go where they want. And then from there, making that a basis of talking about Krishna. I find this effect really powerful, and it could be with the equal, it could be with the superior. Sometimes we need the advice, sometimes we just need to explore. I know for myself, like, I know the philosophy, and sometimes I'm having a problem and I go to someone, they say, well, chant Hare Krishna. It's like, I know that. What, you think I don't know that? Chant Hare Krishna? Come on, like. You know, and like, so the first thing is to be understood. And, well, I don't know, when you're in association with people who are very empathetic, it's like a drug, like, it's really addictive, and like you want it every time you talk with someone, to be like really understood. But at least we can give it to other people, you know, receiving them where they're at, and honoring, validating the feelings that they're having. Trying to experience that ourselves, you know. When I was at the crisis center, there was one woman named Jan, and she said that when you make room in your heart for the pain of other people, then your heart has to grow to make room for it. But because that pain is not yours, that pain will leave and your heart will be bigger. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamani, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gaudavani Bracharani, Nirvisesha Shinyavadi Paschatadesha Thakur. Thank you.
Yajñāśඨāpina santo uccate sarvamir-visāya Vandite Prabhupada
The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins. To eat food, offer for sacrifice. Others prepare food for themselves and fairly eat only.